In this video, I'm going to break down 13 of my all-time favorite high-ticket sales and closing strategies for beginners if you run a marketing agency, SaaS company, coaching, consulting business, so anything really in the high-ticket B2B services space. And these are strategies that I wish I knew sooner and would have made a lot more money if I did. What's up, everybody? My name is Brian Downard, one of the partners at Prospecting on Demand, and we have done more than $100,000 to $150,000 per month consistently in our business over the past few years, and these strategies are a huge part of why we're able to do that. So if you stick with me for the next say 10, 15 minutes or so, you might want to speed up the video in case it's a little longer. We'll see where this takes us, but this is worthwhile because if you want to close more deals, get more clients, you need to understand this stuff. So let's start at the very top and dive right in. The first thing you need to understand when you are selling, especially to businesses, is you're selling the outcomes that your services produce, not the features of your outcome. Another way you can kind of think about this is you are selling the destination that you're taking them, not the vehicle they are riding in. And the idea here is, at the end of the day, business owners do not care how you get them the result. They just want the result. They don't care if it's SEO, paid ads, a monkey spinning a sign on the corner, a billboard, radio ads, whatever that thing is that you are selling to them. You need to get away from that service itself, because what happens is when you focus on just selling a service, you become a commodity. There is always someone willing to sell that service for cheaper. So instead of anchoring what you do in the price that you want to sell it for, we'll talk about this in just a little bit, you need to instead focus on what it will do for them. How much money will it make them, or how much money will it save them? How much time will it save them? Will it reduce the pain that they are feeling? A lot of times people are running away from pain and running towards a specific goal. So when you can zoom out and really look at, okay, the thing that I am selling, what does it actually do for the business? So as an example, if you're selling SEO services, what that does is ranks your clients higher on Google. Why is that important? Okay, well, if you rank higher on Google organically, say about 70% of all search traffic goes to those top 3 spots. And if there's 100,000 people in their city and, every month there's a few thousand searches for whatever it is they do, HVAC, roofing, med spa, etc., they're going to now capture a large chunk of that search traffic and go straight to their business. And that is really what they care about. They want to be at the top of all their competitors. They want the majority of their community coming to them first. So again, when you're looking at the services you sell, stop trying to sell the features or the individual deliverables themselves and focus instead on what problem that solves for your client. Cool. Now let's go to number 2. All right. You want to control the frame at the start of the call. There are a couple ways we do that. There is the time and results frame, and then there is the why frame. So if I break that down real quick, the time and results frame is just 2 things. First and foremost, it is the amount of time that you have available and making sure and confirming with them how much time they have available. So it might go something like this. Hey, Bob, I know these calls are scheduled for about 30 minutes. I am good on time actually through the top of the hour. Just so I'm respectful of your time, can you let me know when and if you have a hard stop, just in case we need a little extra time? And doing this will make sure you don't run into 30 minutes of the conversation and then they have to go right away and you don't even get to your pitch. But it will allow you to understand how much time they actually have available. Now, the results frame goes a little bit something like this. So, hey, the point of this call is really just to see if it makes sense to potentially work together. Not everyone qualifies to work with us, so we'll just go through a couple questions, see where your business is at, and I'm only going to make you an offer if it absolutely makes sense for your business. Again, you are setting the tone of the call, letting them know what it is about, that you are qualifying them to you, and that you'll only make them an offer if it makes sense, but let them know, hey, there is going to be an offer made on this call potentially, and it's not just here to chit-chat. All right, that is the time and results frame. The next frame is the why frame. Why are you here? And what I like to do, the version that I ask is, what did you see from us that makes you think we can potentially help you? And again, right out of the jump, we are making them qualify themselves to us by telling us why they think we can help them. And obviously, depending on the context of the relationship, you might just want to say something more like, hey, like, what are you hoping to get out of this conversation? If they didn't necessarily come to you, if you went to them, and that will allow you to navigate what they want to get out of this call. You'll see this kind of trend and theme a little later, especially when we get into some of the objection handling pieces. You got to let them tell you what they want out of the conversation, where they want to go, what they want. Let them feel like they are in the driver's seat, even though you are the one leading the conversation. All right. So in the same vein of not selling just features and instead selling outcomes, what you need to do if you want to charge a premium, if you want to sell high ticket, you need to price anchor against the value they will receive. But what does that mean, right? You need to have a healthy understanding of what an average customer is worth to that business. And if you can send them X amount of appointments, what is generally their close rate? Now, again, if they're mostly used to working referrals and just word of mouth, those people are going to be a lot easier to close. People who are strangers on the internet might be a little harder. So I would underestimate what their close rate is. But if you know, like, hey, if we're going to spend $2,000 this month on paid ads, we can generate you 50 new leads. From there, you should be able to pick up about 5 to 10 sales calls. Do you feel confident, Mr. Client, you can enroll at least one or two of those prospects? And again, if we're talking like roofs, for example, you're selling this to a roof is worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. One or two sales is going to make your offer a no-brainer. So here's what I like to do. I want to make sure that my clients are going to realize at a minimum, absolute minimum, 3-to-1 return on their investment in working with me. Ideally, it is closer to a 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 multiple to make it an absolute no-brainer. It's like, wouldn't you put $1 in an ATM if that ATM gave you $5 back every single time? And that is the mindset you want to start to get them in, because a lot of times people will try to go for the cheapest option. And again, this is kind of rolling into objection handling. I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole on this video. But it's really easy when you can ask a prospect like, hey, do you care more about getting consistent sales or more about finding the cheapest option? And again, what you're wanting to do is reframe their mindset in that, like, hey, like, being cheap on this is not the move. You want XYZ outcome. This is why we attach a premium to that. And just to kind of help you kind of find the perfect middle ground of what your offer could and should look like, you need to first consider the price that it costs you to fulfill the service. To make the math really easy, I like to usually take that number and multiply it by 2.5 to find the minimum you need to charge. This will help you kind of get to that 35 to 50-ish% cost of goods sold against what a client pays you. So you have margin for paying your team, yourself, taxes, acquisition, all that good stuff, and grow your business. And then on the inverse, what is the ceiling you could charge? Well, again, based on this like 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1 multiple, if you can make a client 50 grand, $100,000 a month or more, the ceiling for what you can charge goes exponentially higher. So really, again, before you ever get to your price, you need to help them do a estimation of what it is potentially worth to them, so they don't have sticker shock when you are ultimately selling, there you get to your price. All right, number 4. Do not over-explain. Deals are lost in the details. I had that one up here. And really what I've done that helps me a lot is you establish a 3-pillar pitch, which is essentially 3 words that consolidate your offer into the essence of what it does. And for our offer, what we do is we say clarity, accountability, and community. So for you, it might be a little different, but what are 3 words that hyper simplify what you do? And then even better, a metaphor that helps explain it. One of my favorite metaphors in the high ticket for marketing agencies and SaaS would be the leaky bucket metaphor, right? Like they have water, which is leads, filling their bucket's the business, but there's holes in that bucket, right? Now, not only do we want to continue to fill that bucket with more leads and more prospects, so the lead gen component, SEO, paid ads, social media, whatever that is, and then you want to plug up those holes, which would be more of the SaaS component of their business, so things like missed call text back, automated lead nurture, AI, and what you can do is use that metaphor to help wrap their brains around a topic that you frankly take for granted because you understand it really well. They don't understand it at all, but the metaphor helps them connect the dots much quicker, and it will keep you from getting into the weeds. Okay, cool. So we're going to do this audience targeting strategy, this bidding strategy, we're going to use this creative and this copy, and their just eyes are glazed over and they have no idea what you're talking about. This helps you hyper simplify what you do and just explain the benefits in a clear, concise way without losing more deals in the details. And I'll give you a little bit of a kind of extra objection handling bonus here. Do not answer questions that are around the details of what you do until you know what the answer is that they want to hear. So if they ask you something like, well, what type of ads are you going to run? Instead of just answering them because you don't know what they want to hear, you ask them like, hey, well, what type of ads would you want to run in a perfect world? And why is that important to you? And then if they're telling you something that you do, great, hey, we do that. And if they're telling you something you don't do, say, hey, well, if we could still get you XYZ outcome, would it matter if what the type of ads were, or do you care more about what the ads are versus what the outcome is? And that's, again, a way to get their brain on the value of what you do and selling the outcome, not selling the features or over-explaining the details of what you do. Let's keep rocking. Number 5. This is a big one. It took me a long time to learn this, and what I would do is I would get into a sales conversation and I'd say, cool, thank you so much. I'm going to send you a proposal, and the proposal would be sent at an open-ended time. Maybe I'd get it done in a day or two. Maybe it would take me longer depending on the deal, and I wouldn't even have a follow-up call set, and it would just be like, okay, well, I'll put that together. But unfortunately, what proposals do is create more friction and more confusion in the sales process, and confused minds do not buy. Now, of course, there are exceptions. If you are selling super high ticket to large companies that actually need to run something up the ladder, okay, then sure. If you're selling something that is more than $10,000, $20,000 per month, having something in writing might be helpful. And what you can do in that case, and you should still have this regardless of kind of that pricing, is what we call a service level agreement. Now, a service level agreement is not a proposal that they get to review and give you a thumbs up if they like it or not. A service level agreement is simply the services you offer laid out in a document that's already pre-done. So when someone's on a call with you and they ask for a proposal, instead of being a people pleaser and just saying, yeah, sure, I'll put something together, you got to ask them like, hey, what would you want to see in that proposal? What would be in that proposal that you would need to see that we can't discuss right now? And hey, so real talk, we don't do proposals because it creates too much friction and confusion in the process. What I can do right now is pull up our service level agreement, outline kind of what I spoke with you on this call about here, and that way we can review it together and you can let me know if there are any questions. Now, if they still want to take that reviewed in their own time, we'll talk about this in a little bit, what you can do, but really try to have your offer already done and structured so you can get on that first sales call and tell them what the price is, what the investment is, and then have the conversation then and there. Because if you don't give them a price, then you send that to them a couple days later after the emotional high of that call has wore off, or they've done something else and they see that price, it's very hard to reconcile in their brain like, well, is this really worth it? This is really expensive. I don't know. And then you are not there to help guide them through like, hey, selling the destination, not the vehicle. This is the outcome you wanted. Help me reconcile why this price seems like it's high for you when you are set to potentially 5x, 10x your return on investment. So try to avoid sending proposals. It just draws out the sales process. It creates confusion, and it just makes it a lot harder for you to close. And if you've ever done proposals, how often has someone just kind of drifted off and ghosted you after you sent that, right? A lot of times it's a scapegoat for them to just say, yeah, cool, send me some details, because they didn't give you the real objection. And frankly, you probably didn't ask for it. So let's keep rocking. Number 6, talk less, ask more. A big lesson that I took away and learned recently is the person asking the questions is leading the conversation. So you want to make sure you are in the driver's seat and you're the one asking them what is going on, right? It's a little bit like an interrogation. The person who's in that interrogation room, if they're asking all the questions, they're in charge, right? But you want to be in the police officer's position, the investigator position, and making sure you're the one drilling in to find out what the real issues are, what the real desires are, what the real objections are. And when you talk less, you learn a lot more. So let the prospect get off their chest whatever they need to. And people buy not when they understand you, they buy when they feel understood. So when you can just ask them about themselves, their business, what they've been going through, why this is important to them, they will give you all the answers you need to make the sale, as long as you're willing to listen and not over talk and over explain. Number 7. Indecision is the most common decision, so you need to be prepared for that. What does that mean? Very often, you're going to get to the end of a sales call, and they'll probably like it. They'll probably be interested, but they're going to be unsure, right? There's going to be some things they need to think about or talk through, and you need to expect this. If you are just expecting the answers to be binary, like yes or no, that is very rare. I would say about 5 to 10% or less of my sales calls are like, yep, I want to do it. Let's do it right this second. And then I'd say even less, like another maybe 5% or less are, no, I don't want to do this. Everything else is in the middle. So you need to be prepared for this. And the easiest way that I like to triage this question, or at the very end, is like, hey, so tell me like what you're most concerned about. And just let them start to open up and tell you what they need to think about, right? Because the most common decision is indecision. And if you let them waffle on this and just like, well, and you don't dig into the core of like, what are you most afraid of having happen if you make this investment? You're never going to find out what the real objection is. But those frames are really helpful to get to the core root of what they are potentially wanting to avoid, and or what the real thing is that is keeping them held back. Cool? Let's keep rocking. All right, so you maybe have heard this one before, but if you're newer to this space, it's important to understand people buy with emotion and they justify it logically. So what does that mean? It's so important to, in the beginning of the sales conversation, let them explain to you why this is important to them, right? And if they give you surface level answers like, well, I just want to make more money, just want to grow my business, want to spend more time with my family. But what does that mean? Like, why? You have to dig in. There's this idea of 7 layers of why, where the real answer to what they want is actually like 7 layers deeper than what that surface level answer is. And this will get them into an emotional state of what's at stake for them. What happens if they go backwards? What happens if they don't solve this? And, what happens if they do? What is that perfect scenario? And what are they doing? Where are they at? How does it make them feel? These things will get them into the emotional state necessary to make an investment. And then they use logic to justify that. So the numbers behind it, how much money they're going to make, what it costs them, your social proof testimonials, how confident you are. And these things all matter, but if you don't get them into a place where they're emotionally attached to not only the outcome, but even the fear of what happens if they don't solve this, it becomes a lot harder to get the sale. And what people kind of screw up here is they go straight from the emotional side of the conversation straight into the logical side, and they never re-enter the emotional side again and remind them what that person told them 15, 20 minutes ago on that call as to the justifications of why they should be buying this. And it's very hard to only sell based on logic. You need both the emotion and logical side. All right, number 9. This one took me a while to understand. If you are not niched down yet, I highly, highly recommend it because it will allow you to have the same conversations over and over again and have the same fulfillment over and over again. Just makes it a lot easier to scale your business. Simplicity scales and complexity cripples. Just write that one down. But the idea is, even though you are selling to the same avatar over and over, say dentists, for example, you need to still be selling to the individual, even though maybe generally all dentists want the same thing, they want the same outcome. Maybe they communicate it in a similar way, like, hey, I want more dental implant patients for my practice so I can grow and hire more junior dentists under myself and get out of the business. Okay, but you need to now understand why it matters to the individual and what the individual actually wants. I have something here we'll get into in a moment called the secret weapon question, and that'll kind of open up this whole can of worms to get them to tell you. But the idea is once they tell you the things that they want and that they're looking for in an agency, coaching program, software, etc., those are now the things when you get to your pitch that you focus on. If they tell you like, hey, I'm really looking to, have someone just consistently post on social media on my behalf, and then you get into your pitch and you're totally focused on like how sexy the creative is and the graphics you make, that wasn't the priority for them, right? And maybe you do the posting consistently on their behalf, but you didn't listen to them or you didn't ask the question for them to tell you that that is the thing you need to focus on, and you associate the thing that they said they wanted with the offer and say, hey, remember XYZ thing you told me earlier? This is exactly why we do this right here, and this is going to solve that problem for you. It makes them feel heard and validates logically, again, that this is the right offer for them because you're selling to the individual, not the avatar, and you make them feel heard, understood, and that your offer is for them specifically, not just everyone in their niche. All right, let's keep rocking. So, secret weapon question. This is one of those things that if you're not doing on your sales calls, you are missing massive opportunities to close more prospects. And the idea is you need to just, right before you get to the pitch, is kind of the transition over to the offer. One of the last questions you ask them before you get to that pitch. And it's like, hey, if you were to have the perfect kind of scenario, like with a marketing agency coaching product, like what criteria are you looking for from that product? What would make this an absolute no-brainer? And what do you want out of this? Let them tell you, right? There's different ways to do this. I had a client, he did a funny version of this. We're like, hey, if you could go to a Build-A-Bear and build your perfect CPA, because he sells like high ticket, fractional CFO services, CPA tax services. And it was like, if you could go to a Build-A-Bear workshop and build, the perfect accountant for your business, what would that look like? And again, it helps kind of tie in this silly little metaphor to what they do and help them understand like, oh yeah, I could build a perfect CPA. I would want this and this and this. Okay, great. And then now you have that insight so you can focus on your pitch, those things they referenced, they wanted. All right, number 11. This is an easy one. Always set the next call unless they say no, right? If they say yes and they pay, great. You schedule a kickoff call. If it's anything else, I need to talk to my partner. I need to think about it. Obviously, we want to try and handle those objections, and we can do another video on objection handling later. Let me know in the comments, by the way, what are the most common objections you're getting, and I can help you kind of talk through them in another video. But you always set the follow-up call, and do that as soon as you can as well. The longer the time horizon of the follow-up call, the more the wave of life kind of takes them. They get less enthusiastic, and there's a lot higher likelihood that they say no or just decide to cancel or go in a different direction. And so especially when you have follow-up calls set like over a weekend, like, hey, you got to call on Thursday or Friday, but they don't want to talk till next week. You got to do something in the meantime to maintain rapport and add value. So I always like to have them send me some kind of asset, a website, a resource, a thing they're doing, and then give them direct feedback somewhere towards the middle of the timeline of, hey, they have a set call. Say we have spoke on Thursday, they send me some resources. Then on Friday or Saturday, I might send them over a personalized Loom video, giving them feedback on their current ads, their website, or whatever, to again, maintain rapport, maintain enthusiasm, because they want this perception that they will receive a lot of value in your conversation, and then they will show up. And frankly, this is pretty easy and no one else is doing it, but money follows the value. And if you can lead with value, you can maintain and nurture the relationship between follow-up calls. But the rule here is always set the next call. Do not leave it open-ended. Do not let them dictate when the call is. And you want to tell them like, hey, let's put the next call on the calendar. I'll give you a couple more insights here in just a minute. So just a moment, actually, that's the next one. So taking refundable deposits is also a key piece here for anyone who is stalling, right? Some people are like, well, I just don't make decisions on the first call. I need to think about, I really need to go talk to my spouse, or, I just need to put some funds together, move some things around. Like if you've overcome the objections, but now it's just a timing issue, or they're trying to stall, I would ask for a refundable deposit. This could be $100, could be $500, could be $1,000. I would say probably in the neighborhood of 10 to 20% of the initial payment of what they do. And what you can say to them when they say, well, why would I do that? Why do you ask for a deposit? Sometimes people will be like, well, it likes to showcase your commitment and, get things started on our end. That's okay. But what I would rather say to a prospect is, hey, my calendar, fills up pretty quickly. I need to leave it open for people who are only really serious about working with us. So what I try to never do is not schedule a follow-up call with someone who isn't putting some skin in the game as well. I'm putting skin in the game by blocking time off of my calendar. And frankly, I think you would agree, Mr. Prospect, time is more valuable than money. I want to make sure this is something you care about just as much as I do. And that's a really great way to establish authority. Cast the light that you are busy, you've got things going on, you're not just going to bend over backwards to make it convenient and easy for them, but you always try and get that refundable deposit. And I kind of say this, like, hey, Mr. Prospect, if you're not opposed to it, I want to give you that space to think about it. It sounds like there's no other variables you need to really talk about, but this is the offer you want. You just want some space to, weigh your options. I hear you. What we're going to do here is before we set the follow-up call, I'm going to ask you to put down a $100 refundable deposit. And if, there's some act of God or you ultimately decide like, hey, this isn't the direction you want to head, no sweat. I'll refund that. I'm not going to take it to Vegas and put it all on red. Promise. But what we can do is then apply that deposit to your initial payment and just use the card on file, make it really easy to get you started and get rolling ASAP. So that's the frame that I would use here for refundable deposits. And last, but certainly not least, is indifference attracts and desperation repels. I have a clear memory of as a kid going to some store where my parents were like shopping for TVs and the sales guy chased us out into the parking lot. That was not a great experience. And even as a kid, I remember feeling like that was weird. That guy seemed kind of desperate. Like, why was he chasing us into the parking lot to sell this TV? And being later in my life in the sales positions, I do get it, right? Like especially if you're making commissions on this or your business is like depending on these sales, but you will repel prospects if and when they feel that you are trying to sell them because it's what's best for you versus it's what's best for them, right? There's this classic saying of what is everyone's favorite radio station? WIIFM, what's in it for me? If it's all about what's in it for you and they feel that, they'll put the shield up, they will not buy. But when you can be indifferent to the outcome and not be attached to needing them to say yes and really have this understanding that sales is a number game. You can do everything right and lose the sale. You can do everything wrong and make the sale. So you need to be indifferent to the outcome and learn to train your brain to not act out of desperation, not act out of scarcity, and always know there will be another opportunity. So do right by people, only make offers when it fits them and make them feel that, again, selling to the individual, not the avatar, that this is the right move for them because they need it, not because you need it. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Again, guys, if you're newer to the channel, we're just growing this thing. So if you could like this video, subscribe, maybe even drop a little comment below, I would sincerely appreciate that. I will respond to every single comment I can and share this with someone, right? If you know someone in the high ticket sales space, running an agency, trying to sell more, this is a great way to capitalize on the opportunities that you have. And I'll keep pumping out the content, keep bringing the value to you guys. And if you want any help with this, you can go check out the link in the description below. We do this for a lot of other marketing agencies. And if it's something you're interested in, let us know and we can talk about it. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.